Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Tech in 10 postgame show here from the Ruston Daily Leader. I am your sports reporter for the Ruston Daily Leader, Matt Belinson, coming to you after Louisiana Tech's 38-14 loss to the South Alabama Jaguars. Quite an opening here we have for the Tech in 10 postgame show. This was a dominating performance by South Alabama. Talked to Sonny Cumbie over Zoom after this one. He called it embarrassing. And if you look at the box score for this game, or if you watched it live, the numbers reflect that. South Alabama took it to Louisiana Tech. Now, Louisiana Tech did itself no favors in this game by any means, and we'll get to that in a second. But the Bulldogs, once again, bit by the turnover bug. Not so great quarterback play, and couldn't run the ball either. We'll get into all those points in a second. I think overall, the biggest takeaway for this team right now is they're just not playing efficiently and rather sloppy. The Bulldogs, obviously playing the air raid system with Sonny Cumbie, coming in, needs a lot of efficiency. You need to play with precision to make this work. And right now, Louisiana Tech is not getting that, specifically from the quarterback position. 4 games in, heading into the bye week, Parker McNeil on his third start for the Bulldogs. And over the last 3 games has found more and more struggles that the Bulldogs have not been able to overcome. Tonight, more turnover issues for him. And even Matthew Downing in his first start the season at Missouri. 3 interceptions for him, and the Tigers used that to their advantage and go on to win the season opener. The quarterback position has to be better for this team. So that's my biggest overall takeaway at this point for Louisiana Tech is the quarterback position is the driving force of this air raid system, and the quarterback in general has not been effective for Louisiana Tech. Let's dive into the numbers here. I'm going to hit you with the turnover issue first. 5, not $5 footlong from Subway, 5 turnovers from Louisiana Tech tonight. Just that number alone pretty much tells the entire story of how this game played out. Sonny Cumbie said it himself afterward. You turn the ball over 5 times. He said absolutely no way you can win a game. I don't know if I would go that far, but I would have to go and really research to find a team that's been able to overcome those odds. And most of those came from Parker McNeil. 4 interceptions tonight for the redshirt senior. He was benched. He was pulled in the third quarter for Matthew Downing, who I just mentioned he began the year as the starter for Louisiana Tech. And then Parker McNeil came in as his replacement. Over the last couple of games here, had kind of taken the reins away from Downing as the leader of the offense. Tonight was easily McNeil's worst start for the Bulldogs. Really forcing passes, missing receivers. I wouldn't call them wide open most of the time, although there were a couple of drops from his key receivers tonight, but those were not the issues that plagued these interceptions. Underthrowing receivers, overthrowing receivers, and throwing behind receivers as well, tipping passes. It was just not a good performance tonight for Parker McNeil, especially considering we knew coming in South Alabama was going to take away the run. An area of concern for the Bulldogs throughout the season, which we'll get to later. But the run game was going to be stifled, most likely. So it was going to be on the shoulders of Parker McNeil and these playmakers to get it done. And they did not come through tonight. Like I mentioned, 4 interceptions, turnovers overall for this team. I'm going to read the numbers as to where Louisiana Tech sits heading into its bye week. They have 13 turnovers on the season. That's the most in the FBS. 100-plus teams in the FBS Division I level. They have the most in the FBS level with 13. 11 interceptions overall for Louisiana Tech. That's the most interceptions in the FBS heading into this bye week here. It's just been sloppy, and Louisiana Tech has not been able to overcome those odds, similar to how it played out at Clemson, 2 weeks ago. You feel positive, 13-7 at halftime. You're like, hey, we can hang with the top 5 team in the country. And then first 2 drives for Louisiana Tech, 2 interceptions, and that's the game. And Clemson turns those into touchdowns, and that's how the game played out. Similar to tonight. I'm down a little bit more, 17-7 at half to South Alabama. The Jaguars really didn't put this away like you think they were going to. And then again, Louisiana Tech's first possession of the second half. Parker McNeil forces a ball to Griffin Hebert. He was pressure in his face, should have just thrown it at the ground or just thrown it out of bounds. Instead, kind of lobs it up to Griffin, and South Alabama returns it for a pick six. And then the next series for Louisiana Tech, Matthew Downey comes in relief for Parker McNeil, and then Matthew Downey fumbles the football, and then a couple of plays later, South Alabama turns that into a touchdown, and that's pretty much all she wrote from tonight. So, again, the turnovers have cost this team. I think coming into this year, if you just looked at the schedule on paper, Missouri, Stephen F. Austin, Clemson, South Alabama, I think even the more optimistic fans would probably say coming in tonight, you were probably going to be 1-2. Get a win over an FCS team and Stephen F. Austin, and then you're probably going to drop those two games to Power 5 opponents in Clemson and Missouri. You thought maybe they were going to be able to bounce back before heading to their bye week against a pretty decent Sun Belt team who gave UCLA all they could handle a couple weeks ago, but certainly didn't expect a loss like this where you head into the bye week with way more questions than answers about where this team sits right now, especially, a new coaching staff with Sonny Cumbie, so many unanswered questions. And the Bulldogs really have, like I mentioned, more questions than answers to figure out in this bye week. Who's going to be their starting quarterback going forward? I saw a lot of chatter on social media tonight. Should it be Landry Liddy? The freshman quarterback who, Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Louisiana last year. Do they go back to Matthew Downing? I sincerely doubt that. He didn't even throw a pass in relief of Parker McNeil tonight. Or do they stick with Parker McNeil? I'm not really sure. He has been way too inconsistent for you to put 100% trust in him. But, we'll see what Sonny Cumbie wants to do going forward. And outside of the quarterback position, like I mentioned before, the run game, more struggles tonight outside of their win over Stephen F. Austin in Week 2, an FCS team. I'm going to read you the stat right here. Louisiana Tech is rushing for 0.9 yards a carry in their three other games outside of that FCS win over Stephen F. Austin. Less than a yard per carry for this run game right now. They had 29 carries for 57 yards tonight, it looks like. It's just not working. And, like I mentioned with the quarterback struggles, if these quarterbacks are going to continue to struggle like they are, teams are just going to dare them to throw the ball because they know that the run game is not going to work for this team. Marquise Crosby didn't really have a whole lot of opportunities, on the ground tonight. Greg Garner was able to find a couple holes here for some, 10-plus yard gains, but those were few and far between. This run game right now is struggling, very similar to the quarterback situation. And despite the fact, if you look at the box scores, Louisiana Tech has put up some decent points on some teams, with higher caliber defenses. But if you just look at this team overall, the defense it's carrying right now. The offense is not producing at a level that it's going to be successful. Obviously, heading into Conference USA play here, in a few short weeks, you're hoping that you can face some, opponents at your level and can kind of pick up some wins here to make, this first season under Sonny Cumbie a little bit better. But man, right now, things are not looking good. Like I said, you head into the bye week, you thought, okay, maybe they could lose this game or maybe they could win this game. But a result like this, 38-14, it really leaves a lot of sour taste in people's mouths and it really leaves the program in kind of a standstill of where to go because, like I mentioned, there's not really a whole lot of options. It's either we give the reins to a true freshman quarterback in Landry Liddy, who's never started at the college level, or we just continue to ride it out with Parker McNeil and hope that the veteran can figure it out here and settle in. Because right now Louisiana Tech is bearing the brunt of some not so good quarterback play, and it's to their detriment. Like I mentioned, they're 1-3 heading into the bye week. In a couple weeks they return home after pretty much a road stand to begin the season. They return home to face UTEP to begin the Conference USA slate. Should be a fairly decent matchup. UTEP has struggled a little bit to start this season. Have given teams some competitive games, not so much for others. So it'll be interesting to see how Louisiana Tech can back up this unfortunate, result for them before they head into their bye week because it's going to leave a lot of, disappointment and frankly, Sonny Cumbie said it should leave, people pretty pissed off. It should leave them, ready to go back into the bye week, ready to work. Because even though this is a new season with a new, culture, a new coaching staff, a 1-3 start is definitely not where they wanted to be before Conference USA play began. So it'll be interesting to see if, number one, they can get these turnovers down. I mean, like I mentioned, they're number one in the wrong category in the FBS with 13 turnovers. You just can't have it. The quarterback position, it is struggling right now. Will they make a change from Parker McNeil in a couple weeks here? We'll see. If I had to place my bet right now, I don't think they're going to make that decision. I think they're going to let McNeil figure it out at least for one more game before they give it over to Landry Liddy, because I just don't see them handing over the keys to an air raid to a true freshman quarterback this early in his career. But we'll have to see, because right now Louisiana Tech is short on answers. So that's kind of where we leave things right now for Louisiana Tech. This is a pretty exciting video series we're gonna keep trotting out here after Louisiana Tech Saturday night, or Saturday just games in general. I can't wait to get these started, and I hope everyone continues to tune in, because Ruston Day Leader, we're gonna bring that content for you when it comes to your Bulldogs, and I'm happy to bring this analysis for everyone listening. So for Matt Belinson from the Ruston Daily Leader, that's going to do it here on this first edition of the Tech in 10 postgame show. Thank you all for listening.